We're finally going to hear some music.
All right.
Yes, we're going to talk about mixing and what mixing is and how to go about it. And we're maybe first going to talk a little bit about the philosophy of it. What is mixing? You know, mixing is, what do these knobs do? What do these faders do? So, like, there's t-shirts for guys like, well, do you know what all these buttons do, these knobs do? Yeah, they just make things louder somewhere. Like, that's really what it is. We have, you know, it's either like a channel that the fader makes everything louder, or like the high frequency knob makes just high frequencies louder, or a bus makes the bus louder. It's all just levels and frequencies and levels. And if you boil it down to that, you know, guitar playing, was you hit a string with a finger and you make a sound. It sounds easy in theory, but it's a lot of practice. And you got to put in your hours, and you develop a mixing skill. And if you look at this mixing a song more as like playing a song and learning it and familiarizing yourself with the various parts and transitions and sections and whatever's in the song, you start to like become, you know, you become one with the song in a way, because you kind of live it. You
internalize the song. You have to know the song like a conductor would know that's conducting an orchestra. And in one way or another, that is what you're doing. You're raising dynamics, you're lowering dynamics, you're bringing out certain frequencies, raising the volume of the frequencies. Certain things need to go away for a second while you make room for another thing that's got to have its own, like,
exactly.
You know. So, yeah.
So I think without further ado, we should play the song once. We've been talking about it for 2 days. And you know,
and then you get to walk people about how how you did all this stuff.
And then we'll dig into each of the different instruments and see how we arrived where we arrived with this mix. So here it is, Blazing Star. Sometime soon here.
Battle clusters descends to earth.
ring out. Which is
Yeah,
always
long
satisfying.
ring out. But that's what that
Big
sounds
ending
like.
and a big ring out.
Big ending, big epic stuff, as big and epic as we can make a song and
Yeah,
still be on Earth. But that's a 50-piece orchestra. That's Death Clock. That's a lot of my vocals, is me doubled many times, with the big kind of choruses that you can hear, kind of floating in and out, all the texture there.
Yeah.
A lot of guitar playing, a lot of amazing, all those kicks sound at home inside of that thing, driving that train along.
And they're all the same level. Every single one is the same level.
And every single one of them is the same level.
Because it has to be at that point, because they're fighting against enormous guitars, they're fighting against bass, they're fighting against vocals and an orchestra. Yeah. And everybody is fighting for space. It's like a whole lot of attention getting going on.
There's a bunch of children and they all want to be heard.
They all want to be first. But listening to it, there was always a section. In each section, there's always something that grabbed your attention.
Right.
And the decision-making process is like, what is it going to be in this section? What is like the primary part and secondary parts, and what is like make sure that we're not stepping on the rhythm section. Do we not step too much on the rhythm section? Sometimes you can lose that a little bit, and that's okay, because you know that it's there and your ear's used to it, your brain's used to it, as long as it comes back again.
There were some just philosophies about how band and orchestra would work together. They had to trade off in a couple of sections, and they had to unite in the last section. So you hear that first kind of what I think is the James Bond kind of down, 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 which is ended up being that riff right there was the end of the entire Doomstar Requiem. That final just closing piece was the last piece of music I wrote for the Doomstar, and I thought, wouldn't that be great to open a song with that? And wouldn't it be cool to go into another section that we haven't heard before? So the verse section is a brand new section that has nothing to do with it, and so does that bridge section, has nothing to do with anything else. And then the chorus is the opening brass of the whole thing when we see the Doomstar born in the Crab Nebula, whatever, in the top of the whole piece, the whole rock opera.
Yeah.
So where do you go now? So what do you start with?
How do we start mixing a song? It's if you're lucky, you got a decent rough mix in. From the band that wants you to mix your song. In this case, that rough mix came from us. Yeah. Because we've been working on it. But basically, I was talking about this previously about starting over and not being married to the EQs and the settings that you had in Pro Tools.
Which is a hard thing to do, to divorce yourself
sometimes,
from.
and I actually did not completely divorce myself from that. I actually imported the snare EQs that I had because I was really liking what I had come up with, and I didn't want to chase that again. Right. Due to time constraints. Sure. So I had imported those, but the rest of it, I was pretty much, faders down. In the old days, it was like plug it into a new console and start mixing this thing. Right. And when I start mixing this, when I start mixing any song, really, I try to get a big picture of the song as quickly as possible, because if we're not mixing individual tracks, we're mixing a song. Like it doesn't really truly matter how good the kick sounds, or how good the bass sounds, or how good the vocal sounds by itself, because it plays together. And
oftentimes, as we've learned already, a lot of that stuff sounds like garbage alone. If you just listen to those kick samples, it sounds like a weird computer sputtering bird robot. Yeah. And then my vocals will be like, oh, that's questionable. But you listen to them in
so you have to make sense of it. Yeah. And so the idea is to not necessarily EQ everything as soloed by themselves, but to treat the song as a whole and try to get into the song as quickly as possible. So we heard what this thing sounds like by itself as a final mix, but let's turn off some of this stuff, and the idea is to go in and put the faders up and start pushing them around, because we're just really making things louder in one place or another. Pushing faders up in the beginning is the one thing to do. You just want to get an idea of like, here, this is what the drums do, this is what the vocals do, this is what the guitars do, and how does it fit together? And there's a lot of stuff to turn off here, but
right.
It'll get a little better.
While you're turning that stuff off, it's I guess what I would want to know out of this, because I mean I have done my own mixes, and what I find myself doing in a really ridiculous, childish way is I have one level, and maybe that's what I am calling 0, and then I keep bringing everything up, and eventually I'm in like the red, and I do that ridiculous thing where I'm just, everything's high now, and I have to go, I have to push manually.
Take everything back down again.
Take everything back down.
So in order...
There's probably a smart way to do that.
To speed this up a little bit. Sometimes I do just listen to the rhythm section by itself as a first thing. So let's just listen to that real quick. And without any EQs or compressors, any plugins on it, you can see everything's bypassed. The buses, who knows what's going to happen with that? So it could be funny. So let's have a quick look here. Like a song, it's somewhere in there. You can see what we're going for, but you can tell the drums aren't popping enough, and the guitars are a little too loud, and we need to make the lead guitars are really loud like this, and so with EQ and compression, we can get a lot. We can make space. We can make space for things, and in order to move along here a little bit, we will listen to stuff individually. Just to show what's going on. The drums, we just listen to the whole drum kit at once and start turning on some EQs to see what they do. So as you can tell, I put in the kick and the snare EQs, or the snare plugins rather, and my favorite, come on, this screen is kind of small to work here, but that's okay, we'll make it. What we do with the kick plugin here, this is my favorite SSL plugin. This is actually what allowed me to switch over from the analog mixing consoles to this. This one just made it louder. Right here, we just have a level thing going on, and maybe some compression. Let's see what goes on here when we play it. It's really just level. That is our kick sample, and oddly enough, this is what I had ended up with as our kick sound. I ended up changing it from the Black Tide kick, or whatever that thing was called, to this one, and it is actually a Superior Drummer kick, and it's a Superior Drummer preset. And I always say, don't use other people's presets, but you can use your own preset. Yeah. And I made this one, and this one is actually the Death Clock preset.
Death Clock preset that
I made for Death Clock, duplicating or mimicking Death Album 3. And so, as you can see, I turned off the rest of the drum kit because I really just need the kicks for this instance of the plugin. So that's the kick sample I decided to use. So we're all the way back to
Superior Drummer again.
Yeah, we're back to Superior Drummer because that actually works for me
often, right?
And let's see what we have going on for the snare. We have two kicks, obviously, and I duplicated that same setup for the other kick. I may or may not have used a kick as kick 2. It might be actually kick, the same kick sample altogether, as opposed to doing like having the differentiation between kick 1 and kick 2 and having different sounds for that. Let's go look at that real quick. Yeah, actually we did do that. Look at that. We have kick 1 has a different sound from kick 2 to actually get that left-right foot action going. And some drummers have just one kick with 2 pedals. Some guys have 2 different sounding kicks.
Just a little bit of differentiation between.
And I'm guessing, if I remember correctly, I did duplicate that for Gene's kicks, mimicking one of them higher than the other one. Just
in the actual Death Clock kick.
In the actual Death Clock kick.
And Superior Drummer.
In Superior Drummer, and using that for this. So you actually have 2, when you hear those
They're
fast
pitched
kicks.
slightly differently, and you can hear the difference, which maybe makes it just have a little bit more life to it.
A little bit more life, a little bit more...
reality.
Yeah. And so let's have a look at the snare. So you can see I'm using the same plugin. This is, I kid you not when I tell you that this is my favorite plugin. What works for me. I've mixed, I don't know how many records on consoles that this is based on, and it's just what I'm familiar with. You know,
the SSL is a very warm, very punchy sounding.
Yeah, it's very, very rock kind of sound to it. You know, a lot of records were and are mixed on those, and are being mixed on those plugins and on the consoles. And so again,
it's got a lot of pleasing frequencies in it. I guess is what I'm saying.
I don't know if they're pleasing, but they work for metal and for rock. You know what I mean?
You know, it's funny.
So it's pleasing for metalheads, but not pleasing for jazz people, maybe.
Right. But I think that I believe that when we're sitting here with a song like this that has a lot of heavy stuff, but it's a very melodic song when you really think about it. There's a lot of melody. There's a lot of forward motion. It's and ultimately, it's got to not drive your ears crazy. It's got to make you have to want to hear, you have to want to sit in front of it and experience something that's exciting to you and sounds good. So with all those kicks, with all those crazy guitars, it still has to have some kind of an EQ curve on the whole thing that makes it pleasant on the ears and not totally
off-putting.
Well, yeah, off-putting, or just make your ears tired, or make you your ears ring afterwards. Anyway, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this plugin is based on an SSL console, and it has an EQ section, has a filter section, has a compression, a dynamic section, and has a gate section, and a little bit of like a gain, input and output gain section. So really, it's no different from having an EQ and a compressor and a gate separate plugins, but this is...
Can you play the snare without and with?
Absolutely. So let's go. I just have to keep moving things around, unfortunately. But luckily, we'll do it. Where is it? That one. Jeez, come on. All right. So here's the snare without. That's not a snare.
Yeah, that's not a snare.
It sounds like a snare. It sounds a little tame.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of hi-hat and stuff. There's a bunch of kick coming in through there. So one thing that I stumbled upon was actually double EQing and double compressing everything. I was actually for a long time battling whether or not I should compress before or after the EQ, and I always generally compress after EQ, just personal preferences. A lot of people swear by the other. I swear by this. It works for me. I sometimes do it the other way around, but I do this a lot. However, that kind of affects the way the gate works, and it doesn't sometimes work so well. So actually, I was always kind of battling, should I do it, should I do it? Until one day, by accident, I copied the same plugin twice. Onto the same thing. And it was like, just do it twice. It's got to be twice as good, right?
Sure.
and it's actually twice as crazy, but and in some instances it is twice as good, but you have to work it a little bit. So what I do, this first plugin does a little bit of this here. So we're gating a little bit of the hi-hat and the cymbals out a little bit. You put a little bit of snap, a little bit of top end on with let's move this around, move some of these knobs a bit so we can hear what they do. One of my things that I do, did I just erase something bad? No. That should have done it. The high end, let's just look at what this knob does. So we added some snap to it, and let's bypass the gate and the compressor. A little mild gating. We have a lot of body that we ended up getting out of that, probably with this low end knob here. I'll make sure it's not too much. This is some subtractive EQing. You see, that's kind of like an unpleasant frequency. It's kind of boxy and kind of not so hot, so we sucked some of that out. Not too much, because it still needs some of that in there. And let's look at what the other plug-in does for us, this one here. And as you can see, it's the same thing, but you can see the settings are a little different. And some of them you can see it actually blatantly just doubled up on it. But this one, not at all. I use different frequencies for it, and the compressor, you can see the compressor setting is different as well. And I'm not using the gate, so it's not completely identical. And I probably did back off of both of them a little bit from what I originally had, but together, you know, it makes sense. So it is a little wacky to do that. I realize that, but you know what?
But sometimes those are happy accidents.
What are you going to do? You know?
No, but it makes sense. It's a more punchy snare than we had it originally.
That's what it needed to be, you know. And then sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So
and oftentimes, will you just sit with an isolated snare and listen to that, or will you blend it into the kit and then see how it reacts to the rest of the kit?
So one thing to note is the compressors. This little button right here is fast or slow attack. And the way these compressors work, or the way I like them, is like the fast attack, which is this one here, which is actually the second one in line to make it visually more reasonable. The first one, we compress before we EQ it, and we gate it before we EQ it, and then we EQ it, then we EQ it again, and then we we compress it again.
So it's a palindrome. So compress first, EQ, compress.
Yes, exactly. It's a lot of EQing and compressing going on, but that's what we do these days. And I guess the thing to take away from it is, don't be afraid of it. What are you going to break? You're not going to break a thing, you know. So you're getting a little bit in the red, you know. Yeah,
that sounds right. I know a lot of people put stuff in the red. I know that
it depends on the software. Some of it you can get away with, some of it can't.
So I know some of like when Slayer records guitars, I know that they like them just the Marshall and their guitars just a little bit in the red, and maybe it just gives us one little extra bite that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
But I've heard that.
I didn't know that. You know, the whole thing about getting into the red. If your master fader is in the red and you're pushing it out and you can hear it distorting, you have something a little problematic going on. But not to get into too much technicalities here, these are floating point processors in here, which means that they constantly re-zero. Just keep it simple. Constantly re-zeroing what they're doing. So just because it looks red in here doesn't necessarily mean it sounds red or sounds distorted if your master fader is looking good.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not quite the same. I think it's like that in the new Pro Tools, but not in the old Pro Tools. In the old Pro Tools, once you got into the red in Pro Tools, it started to sound distorted and crappy because it did not have the floating point. It was fixed point. And but anyways,
that brings up another question. Do you you've got all these tracks here, and do you have one major master fader, and what do you have on that?
We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Because you know, I have actually, you can see what I have on there. I have a bunch of stuff on there. We can turn. It's kind of like I sort of had to master that this project on the go, if you will, because it had to go straight from me to your ears over TV, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's on here. I use this plugin just for level, and a real-time analyzer. We'll get into that. I mean, there's a compressor on it, and another mastering plugin, and a final limiter to make sure that I have no overs whatsoever.